He has work to do, Gabby said, immediately defensive as always. Important work. Do you know the kind of impact these biomedical studies at his company could have on people's lives? I wonder how many times he said exactly that to Mother when he went off and left her to cope with raising us. For once, Gabby didn't overreact. It was a constant refrain, wasn't it? Well, we're all grown up. We should be over all those missed school plays and recitals and soccer games by now. Says the not-so-well-adjusted woman who's doing her best to follow in his footsteps, Emily taunted with good humor. You know you're no better than he is, Gabriella. You may not be a scientist, but you are a workaholic. That's why you get so uptight when I criticize him. The silence that greeted her comment was deafening. Gabby, I was only teasing, Emily apologized, aware that she'd crossed a line. Seriously, you know how proud we all are of your accomplishments. You're a top executive at one of the hottest biomed companies in North Carolina, if not the entire country. I know, you just struck a nerve, that's all, Gabby said, then added briskly, Let me know when you're getting in and I'll pick you up at the airport, okay? Before Emily could offer another apology for what she had recognized as an insensitive, ill-timed remark, Gabriella had hung up. Not with the sort of clatter that would mirror Emily's own quick flares of temper, but quietly. Somehow, that was much, much worse. Boone Dorsett had been through his share of hurricane warnings and actual hits on the coast. He had the boarding up routine down pat, but when it came right down to it, Mother Nature was always in control of the outcome. As a kid, he'd been awed by the ferocious storms, but he'd had little real understanding of the havoc they could wreak on people's lives. These days, with a son, a home, and a busy restaurant, he had a far better grasp of what could be lost to high winds, devastating storm surges, and floodwaters. He'd seen roads washed out, houses toppled, lives uprooted. Thankfully, this latest storm had taken a last-minute turn east and delivered only a glancing blow. There was damage, plenty of it in fact, but so far he hadn't seen the kind of destruction he'd witnessed in the past. In fact, it had been relatively kind to him. There'd been some flooding at his waterfront restaurant, a few shingles ripped off the roof at his home, but his biggest concern after checking out his own property had been for Cora Jane's family restaurant. Castles by the Sea had been a constant in his life, as had Cora Jane. Both had inspired him to go into the restaurant business, not to mimic Castle's success, but to create his own welcoming ambiance. He owed Cora Jane, too, for helping him to believe in himself when no one in his own dysfunctional family had. The biggest reason for Castle's success, other than its proximity to the ocean, good food, and friendly service, was Cora Jane's devotion to it. She'd called him half a dozen times since the storm had passed to see if he'd been allowed back into Sandcastle Bay. The minute the evacuation order had been lifted, he'd crossed the bridge from the mainland to check his property and hers. Now, standing in the middle of the damp, debris-littered dining room at Castles by the Sea, he called her with the damage assessment she'd been anxiously awaiting. How bad is it? She asked, foregoing so much as a hello. Tell me the truth, Boone. Don't you dare sugarcoat it. Could have been worse, he told her. There was some flooding, but no worse than over at my place. Shame on me, Cora Jane interrupted. I never even asked how you fared in the storm. Just some flooding? That was the worst of it, he confirmed. My crew's already cleaning up. They know the drill. As for the house, it's fine. So is yours. A lot of tree limbs in the yard, a few roof shingles ripped off, but otherwise, it's all good. Thank heavens. Now finish telling me about Castles. Boone complied. A few of the storm shutters stripped away and the windows blew in. You'll have to replace a few of these waterlogged tables and chairs, treat everything for mold and paint, but all in all, it's not as bad as it could have been. The deck? Still standing. Looks solid enough to me, but I'll have it checked. And the roof? Boone sucked in a breath. He hated delivering bad news and had deliberately put this off till last. Now, I won't lie to you, Cora Jane, but the roof's looking pretty bad. Once the wind gets a hold on a few shingles...